Frédéric Chopin was one of the most prominent composers of his era. Born in 1810, he started studying piano formally in 1816 at the young age of 6. His first formal concert performance was 2 years later at the age of 8. He continued through life writing 65 different works that are well known and for the most part looked very highly upon. He later died in 1849, just short of 40 years old. Through his nearly 40 years of life, he accomplished a lot. One of his most famous pieces is the Nocturnes Opus 9. The Nocturnes Opus 9 is a set of 3 works that were written between 1830 and 1832. This 3-part work was dedicated to a lover of Chopin named Madame Camille Pleyel. A common theme of Chopin's work is intimacy, but a reviewer of Chopin's work stated something different when talking about this specific piece. Chopin seldom wrote ugly music, but is this not ugly, forlorn, despairing, and almost grotesque and disordinate? The way that the song is played indicates depression and sluggishness. There is little aversion to life, and it feels more like a self-induced hypnosis. I would agree that the piece develops a calm and soothing atmosphere and gives a restful feeling to the audience. The rhythm of the song is grouped in 3s, and this grouping of 3 usually represents a beat that can be danced to. This piece represents a dance, but at the same time is slightly different than the normal waltz-like beat. There is so much texture that is overlaid within the song that it almost makes it difficult to find the beat of 3 in this tune. There is a lot of legato, and every note seems to be connected and continuous. But at the same time, this continuous feeling of undertones is altered by the texture of the song. The texture that overpowers the composition of the song is really developed in the melody line and the tempo. The tempo is constantly changing. The loudest section of the piece, or the keys that are played the hardest on the piano, seem to always be the most noticeable and the most complex. They are distracting and change a lot during the duration of the song. These loud overtones change in tempo and develop rapid changes in tone. There is a large speed change at the end of the song that really builds to a captivating moment in the song, but it continues to just drop off, and soon enough, the song is over. This ever so short climax leaves the audience wanting more, and also moves smoothly into the 3rd section of the opus.
Caspar David Friedrich lived from 1774 to 1840 and spent most of his life in Dresden, Germany. He painted mostly single figures in contemplation with nature, as this was one of his own favorite hobbies. A romantic, he loved nature and featured himself in the painting I have chosen. His work was appreciated in his time, but became very popular in the early 1900s as well, and he has become one of the most celebrated German artists. This painting, entitled Wanderer Above the Mists, showcases a man, which is actually the artist himself, standing on top of a high cliff overlooking a deep valley filled with clouds. It was painted in 1817, during the Romantic period. In the Romantic period, people were fascinated with nature and how the human race was changing it, perhaps irreversibly. This painting is a great example of these romantic beliefs. The man, who has clearly hiked a good distance to get to the top of the cliff, now sees how large the world really is and how small he is in comparison. But because of the way it is painted, it is clear that the man is the more powerful of the two. The inwardly sloping lines of the mountains in the background bring our focus to the man, and although there are a few rocky masses in the distance, they are spaced so as to keep our attention on the subject. Conversely, the upward sloping lines of the cliff also draw attention to the man, who is painted in a bright green jacket, which is the most colorful and eye-catching part of the painting. The artist's attempt to keep our eyes on the man shows that he is the most important part of the painting, and creates a sense that the man is more powerful than the nature that surrounds him. As a whole, this painting is the artist's representation of the triumph of man over nature.
Architecture was one of the things to change during the Romantic era. During this period, architects felt that they should be doing something in a different form of architecture. They felt like they wanted to express themselves and make buildings with expression. They didn't want to have just one formal style of houses. They wanted to have a different style. 4 different types of styles came out in this period. There was the Gothic Revival style, the Italianate Villa style, the Exotic Revival style, and the Octagon style. One of the famous architectures is the Octagon. The Octagon was made by Andrew Jackson Davis on Roosevelt Island. Davis was born in New York City in 1803. He studied art and architecture while he was young while making money by having the skill of typesetting. He then began to do many projects, and the Octagon was one of them. The purpose of this building was to aid those in need. People who needed help would travel in a boat since there was the Hudson River. After the hospital had closed down in 1955, the building wasn't taken care of as much as it used to. In 1972, it was placed as an historic building. The whole purpose of this building structure can be clearly seen by the Octagon itself. Around this Octagon, there is just formal buildings, and when you look inside this building, it is free-flowing with stairs, making it have a feeling of emotion. This was something different than just an average hospital and place to stay. Davis expressed himself and made it so that the flow of this building was able to complement other normal buildings while being unique. Famous architect is Andrew Jackson Downing, who built the Utica State Hospital. Downing was born in 1850 and is known for his cottage residences piece. His ideas of housing mainly came from John Claudius Loudon. He's also known for being able to express his romanticism with his architecture. This building is an example of how expression is brought out. In the front of the building, you can see that there are vertical lines, and this simply shows that this is dominant to all other buildings. What makes this building unique is that it has normal structured buildings with it, but they aren't in a certain order. They are positioned in different ways. When you see the mass of this building, it shows how thick and strong it is to withstand anything. The focal point of this building would have to be the pillars because they are Doric pillars, and they are so plain but have so much detail in them with the size they are. That's what makes this building have expression. It is plain but dominant.